Welcome to this meeting of Council on September 8th. And without further ado, I just want to begin by saying that the City of Dieppe recognizes that the land on which it operates is part of the unceded traditional ancestral lands of So the traditional ancestral lands and unceded of the Mi'kmaq. May we have the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So once again, welcome to everyone. I hope everyone's in good voice tonight. Again, welcome. So I will call this meeting to order. And we're already at item number 5, confirmation of quorum. Do we have that? Yes, we do have quorum this evening, Your Worship. All right, item 6, conflict of interests. So Councillor Leboutier may have a file or conflict with one of the items. 11.2.1. I'm in conflict of interest in that for that item. 11.2.1. All right. Okay. All right, moving on.
Voilà. Alors, pas d'autres conflits d'intérêts de noter.
There are no other conflicts of note. Can we adopt the agenda now? Item 7. Moved by Councillor Turgeon-Roy, seconded by Councillor Lanteng on the question. Seeing no questions, those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The resolution carries as presented. All right. We'll move to item 8, presentations, inquiries, and petitions. Are there presentations this evening? Well, the RCMP is here to begin with, so Sylvette Thébert. So we'll start with her update, and then if members have questions or councillors have questions, we can do that. So. So Sergeant Hébert. Welcome. Welcome. Good evening, Worship, and welcome staff and members of the public. So just to come back to the last meeting, Councillor Godbout, you had asked for a speeding study on Fox Creek Road. So we received the results, and they confirmed repeated speeding in that area. So we opened a file, and there will be more focused patrols in that area. Now, in the future, if you have requests of that kind, you can address the Department of, you can address Paul Galland of the Department of Engineering. He can do the study, and if he sees that there are issues, that there is speeding in that area, he will then contact the RCMP, Inspector White, and will open a new file. Okay? So I'm going to start with the community policing unit. So as you know, the community policing unit is very busy with the return to school. Patrols in school zones have begun, and so far nothing major has been reported. Drivers are reminded to drive carefully and at the posted speed limit, especially in school zones. The CPU officers will soon begin updating the school environmental action emergency plans, so SAFE plans as they're called, in all schools and in our communities. And for those who don't know what a SAFE plan is, it's an internal RCMP computer application, and it includes a database of site-specific information to help frontline officers respond more effectively to critical incidents in or near a school. The application contains information on schools within the RCMP's jurisdiction and a few schools outside of it as well. It includes the following information: school locations and school contacts, floor plans, site plans, maps, and aerial views, points of interest, so tactical options, staging areas, traffic, etc., and then barricaded incident procedures. So normally, safe plans are completed in September, October. With respect to the crime reduction unit now, they are also very busy. On August 26, 2025, this group assisted the Southeast District during an investigation into a plot to impersonate a police officer. So 23 charges were laid against a 58-year-old man from the Pointe-du-Chêne area. Several items were seized, including police uniforms, a Ford Taurus, radios, lights, and a siren, as well as other items. And so we'd like to remind the public that if you witness individuals in possession of such items who are clearly not police officers, this information can be reported to the police for investigation. On August 28th, a manager from Canadian Tire in Riverview came to the detachment to report an individual suspected of committing several shoplifting incidents over the past month. The suspect, who was unidentified at the time, mainly targeted Ninja Creamy appliances. So based on the information provided, the RCMP unit set up a surveillance at an address of interest, which led to the identification of the subject. After several days of observation, sufficient grounds were established to obtain a search warrant for a residence on Anne Street in Moncton. On September 3rd, 2025, the warrant was executed by the RCMP unit, leading to the arrest of the suspect for 4 counts of shoplifting and the seizure of several stolen items. The suspect, who has no criminal record, was released under strict conditions. In collaboration with employees of other big box stores and grocery stores, so in Dieppe, Riverview, and Moncton, the suspect has been linked to a dozen other thefts in the greater Moncton area. Additional investigations are ongoing and will be submitted to the Crown once disclosure is complete. With respect to the general investigation section now, they've been very busy as well this past month. In the early hours of August 22nd, a 23-year-old man armed with a knife entered a store on Mountain Street. The RCMP quickly arrived on the scene and arrested the suspect without incident, and that man is now in custody awaiting trial. On August 27th, a jewelry store in downtown Moncton was the victim of an armed robbery. 2 individuals entered the store, used weapons and violence, and fled with a considerable amount of jewelry. The investigation is still ongoing. On the same day, a taxi driver was the victim of an armed robbery. The suspect, a man who remains unidentified, used a firearm to steal a sum of money. This investigation is also ongoing. On August 30th, a 34-year-old man broke into a residence on Humphrey Street in Moncton and used violence against the residents who were present at the time. The man fled before the police arrived, but he was apprehended the next day after a major police operation. And this man is now in prison awaiting trial. Now, as you all know, Dieppe hosted the YQM for a 4th year. Several police officers from the region and beyond participate. I'm proud to say that everything went well. No, there were no major incidents. The Tactical Traffic Safety Group came to lend a hand for the occasion, and the result of their patrol was as follows: a total of 242 traffic violations were recorded. So the most popular traffic violations were speeding offenses, distracted driving offenses, like using a cell phone, for example, and a failure to wear a seatbelt, no inspection certificates. We also issued a mandate of arrest, and 30 vehicles were towed during the weekend. And that's all for me this evening. All right, does anybody have any questions? Councillor Lanting.
Merci, Monsieur le Maire.
Thank you, Your Worship. I received a complaint from a lady and she said that she hears this a lot in her neighborhood, that there's a lot of speeding on Book Street. So I don't know if you can patrol there if you're in the Fox Creek area, and maybe also check with our employees to see if there have been other complaints. with regard to speeding on Bulk Road. So it's a long road and a straight road, so it's easy to speed on there. So I just wanted to raise that issue with you. Well, what I suggest is to make a request to Mr. Galland at the engineering department. Okay, yes, I did write that down. All right, that's what I will do. And I will ask the staff as well. All right, thank you very much. So we will take note and we will be informing the employee tomorrow morning. All right, if there are no further questions, Councillor Melançon, the next item is the public presentation. Yes, so just to give you a bit of context before Mr. Girard begins. So with regard to our gentle densification project, as you know, Moncton has been growing significantly, and there's a lot of residential construction, but as elsewhere in the country, prices are rising. But Moncton wants to make the community safe for all residents. So to meet that objective, the city has committed with the CMHC, as numerous other municipalities has done, to permit gentle densification to accelerate the acceleration of residential units. So this is about building an existing residential ADU. So a single family unit could transform its garage or part of its house. It could also add an accessory unit for older parents or older relatives. So the city committed to changing its municipal plan and the bylaw by the end of 2025. And it's important to complete these amendments because eligibility for other government funding is conditional on the adoption of this new bylaw. So this evening, this presentation will provide details on what we're proposing, and we'll talk about the next steps in the process. All right, so I would like to invite Mr. Girard to come and make this presentation.
Monsieur Girard, bonsoir.
Good evening, Mr. Girard. Good evening, Your Worship. Thank you very much. Thank you to the CEO for giving some context, and good evening to the other councillors. So I'm here to make this public presentation. So this is part of a proposed amendment to the municipal development plan.
Sur la diapositive devant vous, là, ici on parle d'un projet d'arrêté pour faire la modification au plan municipal, l'arrêté Z9.
So this is about amending municipal development bylaw, municipal development plan Z9 2017 to 13 to allow up to three accessory dwellings in R1 and R2 zones. So we'll be talking about the timeline and key dates. We'll be talking about the current regulations with regard to the zoning bylaw, the proposed approach and the enforcement terms, the proposed amendments to the municipal plan. So we'll be proposing changes to the wording of the municipal plan, the governance measures as well, and then I'll be talking about next steps. So on August 11th, at the regular meeting of Council, Council adopted a motion to start the amendment process by setting the public presentation date, the date for the public hearing, and the date for receiving the official recommendation from the PAC committee. So this is the public presentation. So October 14th will be the public hearing. That's when we'll have a new opportunity to revisit what's being proposed and the amendments that are being proposed. And October 15th will be the date that the PAC will take a look at this, and then council will be asked to make a decision on October 27th. So in terms of current regulations, so we already permit accessory units under the current regulations. So it is permitted in in a number of zones, but only as a secondary use. But there are conditions as well. So the unit cannot exceed 35% of the floor space of the main unit. The lot has to be receiving municipal services, and only one accessory unit is allowed. And one with regard to garden suites. So this is already permitted in a number of zones as well, except R4. So again, here are the conditions. So it has to be at a minimum 2.4 meter setback from the side lot line, or 6 meters from the rear lot line. The maximum building height is 4 meters, or 6.7 meters at the peak. So if we take into consideration the gable, and again, this is for the garden suite, the lot size cannot pass the gross floor area of 75 square meters. It must be fully serviced and have a septic tank, 1 parking space required, and must share an access point with the main dwelling. So what we're proposing to the municipal plan, so currently, we measure density quantitatively. So in the future, this seems to be an outdated approach for the future. So what we're proposing is an approach that's more qualitative in nature. So what we'd be proposing is to repeal the current definition of residential density and add the definition that I'm going to be reading right now. So council will recognize evolving housing needs and allow up to 3 accessory dwelling units attached to single-family homes. And then we'd add principle 16 as well. Council will ensure accessory dwelling units are integrated harmoniously into existing neighborhoods. And then there's a proposal that's part of that principle. So council will establish and maintain clear requirements to regulate gentle densification, ensuring predictability in the built environment and parking. So the idea of adopting up to 3 accessory dwellings
des propositions basées sur 3 lignes directrices.
Well, the initiative is based on 3 guiding principles. So consistency with municipal land use plan principles. So it has to be aligned with existing orientations and guiding principles. It has to address issues and objectives identified through the agreement process. Another principle is the preservation of the built environment. So to increase density without significantly altering low density areas. Integrate new housing harmoniously with the existing fabric. And then the third guiding principle would be the integration of public feedback. So just as a side note, so there was a growth forum that took place in June and we had an opportunity to meet a number of residents from the municipality. We had some very good communication exchanges with them. We also got good feedback, constructive feedback, and we were also able to ask people if they had and see if they had specific questions. And from that we had questions and comments. So what we're going to be proposing in the next few slides take into consideration what we heard. So this slide illustrates all of the properties in the municipality that are R1 or R2. So what's in orange is R1 and yellow is land that is zoned R2. So eligible properties. So the land would have to be R1, zoned R1 or R2, would have to have a minimum lot size of 700 square meters and a minimum frontage of 18 meters. So depending on based on our calculations, our initial calculations, this would affect about 80% of land that's currently zoned R1 and R2. So that here the first level is the main residential level. So in 2, the garage will be converted to an accessory unit. The second unit could be converted to an accessory unit, possibly the basement as well. And we would also allow a garden suite in the backyard. So the objective of this approach is this. So if you look at the illustration, it's about working with the current tissue or tissue. We don't want to disturb things. We don't want to see the outer shell renovated. And that's an important part of the proposal. Now we would allow extensions and additions, but within parameters that are well defined. So here, what you see is an example of a neighborhood and what it could look like. So if you see what in blue, the blue indicates the addition of secondary or accessory units. So there would be minimal change to the current fabric. And here again, here's an illustration of the main residence. So here we're identifying it as a one. This is a single family unit. So then we add a garden suite. And then one of the requirements that we'll be proposing here is that the accessory unit must be no larger than 80% of the main dwelling and up to a maximum of 75 square meters. So again, the reasoning behind that is we want units that are smaller than the unit to be able to accommodate the elderly or small units, so that we conserve or preserve the urban fabric, the current urban fabric. So we would be so any extension would have to respect these standards here that are listed on the screen. In terms of architectural features, we would limit the number of doors on the front facade. So a maximum of 2 doors would be permitted on the front facade. And there could be doors in the backyard or on the side of the house. But again, the objective here is to ensure a bit of homogeneity and not change the character of the area of the neighborhood itself.
Donc, un autre élément qui
Another
devient quand même important,
aspects that is another aspect that's important is the question of
donc
parking.
ici, on proposerait d'avoir
So
un
here
endroit de stationnement
we would be
par
saying
logement
that
payé.
one parking space would be
Encore là,
permitted
l'objectif
per
ici,
dwelling unit.
c'est de
But
permettre
again, the objective
deux,
here
pardon,
is
du
to
stationnement, qu'est-ce qu'on appelle
allow
du stationnement en tandem.
tandem
Je vais
parking.
juste retourner ici.
I'm just going to go back to that
Donc,
slide.
les gens pourraient
So
stationner
people could park
dos à dos afin là,
back to
de
back
minimiser l'impact
to
sur
minimize the
le site
impact
et
on the site
de minimiser l'empreinte du sol par rapport au stationnement.
and the footprint on the ground.
Donc, vous avez devant vous
So here
diapositive là, qui illustre
is an image of possible parking
stationnement
configurations.
sur, le secteur en question ou les secteurs en question. Donc, les prochaines étapes.
So next steps.
Bien sûr, la loi sur l'urbanisme exige
So the
un délai de 30 jours
legislation allows
par rapport aux
30 or
municipales.
provides for a 30-day public comment period. On October 14th, there would be a public hearing, and that's where people will be able to speak up with regard to their objections in relation to the proposal. On October 15th, the PAC will take a look at what's being proposed and then make a recommendation to council. And then on October 27th, council will make a decision following the PAC, based on the PAC's recommendation. So just to conclude, so this proposal, the goal of this proposal is to preserve the current urban fabric. The initiative presents an opportunity to add housing stock as well as variety of units through gentle densification. So it's important to encourage different types of units. So our recommendations take into account the comments that we heard at the growth forum and the survey that was conducted as well. So all of that to say that we've taken into consideration the feedback that was sent to us. So I am now free to answer any questions or hear any comments that you might have. All right, thank you very much for your presentation. Are there any other questions or comments from councillors?
Councillor Turgeon-Roy. Thank you, Your Worship. I'm happy that you included the whole issue of parking in your presentation. If we're to guide the homeowners to use this tandem parking, like you mentioned, but one of the challenges currently is this on-street parking. Is that something that's going to be considered? Because it's a great project. I agree with it 100%, but we know people are going to park any which way, and there's already a problem with on-street parking. Are we going to look at that? Yes, of course. In residential neighborhoods, on-street parking is allowed in certain areas. It's banned in other areas if there's an intersection or for public safety. There are different reasons for it. But in the residential neighborhoods, on-street parking is, generally speaking, permitted. So it's one way of calming traffic and slowing down traffic, actually, according to some experts. But if there are certain specifics in certain area, we'll have to look at it. If you allow me, Mr. CAO, in the notion of this gentle densification, you also have to consider the fact that we're talking about adding dwelling units, but we're not talking about adding more people on a site. Of course, in a single family home, you might have families of 4 or 5 people who live within one house. As our kids get older, they're probably going to have a car or two. And so it's just to explain that this won't necessarily mean a greater number of vehicles on any one site. But yes, but of course, we have to realize that there will probably be some. Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Le Boutier. I'm good. Thank you. I had a couple of questions and questions of information. The bylaw, these new changes, is there going to be a difference between R1 and R2 in the new bylaws, or will it be exactly the same thing? It'll be the same thing. Yep. There'll be no difference between R1 and R2 zones. It's just the parameters remain the same for the two zones. So the use of a single family dwelling along with accessory buildings will be allowed in both contexts. There'll be no difference there. And my next question, in the R1 zone, will it be a requirement that the homeowner is a resident in order to change or add any accessory buildings? Yes, that's in the bylaw, actually, in the draft bylaw. So in the zoning bylaw that's going to be presented, because today we're just presenting the overall view, but at the public hearing, we'll give you the opportunity to look closer at these different proposals. And you'll also note that the draft bylaw will be available to the public this week or next for a period of 21 to 30 days. But to make a long story short, yes, we will require that the homeowner is a resident of the house before they start renovating these accessory buildings. Yes, because I thought it was very important. Thank you for the answer, but because we want to make sure that the owners understand that they have to be a homeowner resident of their own building in order to make these changes. Yes, and just to add to the context here, in what we're proposing to council here, it's important for us to not lose this sense of belonging in the existing areas. And within this initiative, we want to make sure that it is owner occupied, and that'll lead to a sense of belonging in the existing sectors. Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Lantaigne. Thank you, Your Worship. I had some questions and concerns that are very much similar to the ones that have already received answers. Now, in terms of parking, I'm sure we'll learn that there is going to be more than 4 vehicles per building, because it's something we're going to have to look at because there are a lot of cars on the road already. Now, in terms of the owner-occupied residence is required, but when an owner applies for it, yes, he's going to be there, but when he decides to sell a few years later, how are you going to make sure that this is going to continue? Because we see it now, houses are being bought up by others from outside, and they rent the houses out, and there's a lot of problems with upkeep and maintenance, and when the owners aren't there, people don't tend to maintain them as well. So how are we going to make sure that it's always going to be owner occupied in the future? That's a good question, but unfortunately, I don't have an answer to that. But I will try and have it by the public hearing, because that's a really good question, something to follow up on. Of course, when we do change bylaws or propose bylaws, there are challenges sometimes. But what we're going to present to you is a draft bylaw, in which the intention is to have the owner occupant. And then we'll see if there are measures that have to be taken, in which case we will bring them to you. It's a great project. I'm all in favor of it, of course, but I think we have to be very strict for the rules and the regulations and look at it closely, because we know what can happen. We already see it happening. Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Godbout. Thank you, Your Worship.
Moi, ça montre que
My light shows that your mic is on. Okay, it's come back. Okay, let's try again. I like the use of the name of gentle densification. I think it's a really great approach, and I like the approach that you used when you presented it. Now, these are major changes for a city. When I came to council 4 or 5 years ago, we were already just starting this great growth, and people are experiencing the growth with difficulty. But I think it's we don't have the choice to try and absorb this growth. So I like this approach of gentle densification. I think it's the right approach. And I don't think we have any other option except to regulate this growth. And this is going to be part of the message that we have to get across. Now, I do have a question, and not necessarily for you, Alexander, but how are we going to engage the community in these discussions to get people on board so that people can contribute as much as possible? I think it'll be really interesting. It'll be and important to have the public participation to see how they approach this, and how they see this gentle densification. When I think of the fact that my children want to live in Dieppe, well, we have to make sure that they can live in Dieppe. But we have to see how are we going to engage the population, the community in this process, in the public hearing. I think it's a very important public hearing because it's going to determine what our city looks like in the future. So is LinkedIn, are we going to have a LinkedIn on this? Well, I can start a part of the answer. I think the whole idea of public participation, it's already started. We had a forum on population growth, on the growth of the city in June. Staff was present in the lobby here at City Hall to answer questions. And we've interacted with about 400 people. So and then we received comments either through the online survey or through talking to them in interactions during the forum on growth. We've also gotten feedback on all of this because there's a sign at the entrance to the City Hall that presents these concepts. So it's another element to allow public participations, and it's ongoing. The fact that there's this big poster right at the entrance to City Hall, people can become aware of the visual aspect. Of course, within the regulatory framework and the amendment to the municipal plan and the zoning bylaw, there are certain requirements. So we did put out a notice on our website that is then sent to all of the subscribers of the website, all of those who are subscribed to receiving the news bulletins. And we created a web page on the Dieppe Dialogue page, a platform, on the draft bylaw itself, where we talk about gentle densification. And after this evening, we'll upload this this presentation. And there's all sorts of opportunities, and I don't want to say too much. And I'm looking at Annie here, who is with communication, but we're going to use all of our platforms and the social media to allow people to become aware of the content and of all the information that's being shared. Our staff is always free to answer questions. People can call us. And if you have any specific questions, we'll take the time to answer your concerns on these proposals. And as you mentioned, of course, it's a project that will be transformative. But we trust that we're doing it in such a way that will protect the integrity of the existing sectors. The fact that we are including these specific requirements to regulate the urban form that will regulate the intensity of the modifications on a certain site, etc. And I hope that answers at least a part of your question. Well, you certainly highlight the importance of the whole issue. But my last question, if you allow me, Your Worship, is when we look at gentle densification, we're really looking at a transformation of our tax base because might have up to 4 housing units instead of just one. So have you done any projections, any calculations to determine what might what the potential impact, the financial impact might be on the city's income, on the revenue, so that we have an idea of this before we adopt the bylaw? Well, go ahead. Well, in terms of the financial impact, we did an analysis. Of course, we could start with a number of hypotheses. In Dieppe, there might be 20 accessory units built every year, maybe, but we haven't really started an in-depth analysis of this. Do we have an idea of the impact that it'll have on the number of housing units created? Well, right now, we're really it's focused on what the private sector is ready to do, because what's going to happen is that it's going to give each homeowner, the opportunity to renovate. So when we developed the application process, we thought we might see the creation of 20 or 30 housing units over the next few years. It's not an enormous number, but it's a start in order to reach our objectives of gentle densification to maintain this, to allow us to gently densify the existing sectors. Well, I would encourage you to do the analysis, because a gentle densification or not, if you densify, you're going to have more people, more services, and more costs. So that has to come into be considered and how we're going to pay for this. And if there's an increase in the tax base, well, then I think that should come into the equation as well. Thank you. Well, I think that the bottom line here is really going to be is trying to get the homeowners to remain in place. They're the ones who should benefit, and they're the ones who would have an interest in doing so. So if it starts becoming very commercial, that'll change a city. That won't be the same at all anymore. So those are the concerns that I've heard around the table. So we'll see what comes next.
Prochain item, ça nous amène aux questions du public.
Now we're at questions from the public, but by our vast members of the public here. But if there are none, let's go on.
L'adoption du procès-verbal. Pardon? L'adoption du procès-verbal. Oui, l'adoption, ça nous amène là.
We move on then to the adoption of the minutes. Who would like to move the adoption of the minutes? And so it's moved by Councillor Brideau, seconded by Councillor Jeannin, that we adopt the minutes. All those in favor of the resolution will signify by saying aye. Contrary, nay. We are now officially in a meeting. Now, it's a regular council meeting held on August 11th. No, that was 10.1, yes. Well, yes, and our first item this evening under motions, memorandums and nominations in engineering 11.1, you have a tender award for the infrastructure improvements at the corner of Acadie, Champlain and Saint-Laurent Street. There we went to tender and 4 bids were received. The one that we recommend would be Fulham Construction Limited at a cost of $2,681,010 plus HST. And we also recommend that WSP would be authorized to undertake engineering service at the cost of $255,000 plus HST. And what is special about this project that it's going to be over a 2-year period. This fall, we're going to reconstruct Saint Laurent Street. And next spring, we'll bring the necessary improvements to the intersection at Acadie Champlain in order to make sure that all of the products and all of the materials have arrived, so that everything is on site when we start, so that there are no slowdowns and no lateness for unexpected reasons. And when we're going to And I just want to mention that this spring and next spring rather, and this fall, we're going to do a lot of the work at night time. So we're trying to impact the traffic as little as possible at these intersections. So this is something that with which we're very happy. So, and as I mentioned, we're going to do it over 2 years for the reasons I just explained. Who would like to read the resolution? Councillor Brideau, to read the resolution.
Merci, Monsieur le maire. Que le Conseil adjuge le marché visant le
Here you
projet.
go. Thank you, Your Worship. That Council award the tender for the project entitled Acadie Avenue and Saint Laurent Street Infrastructure Improvements to the lowest bidder, Foulem Construction Limited, at a cost of $2,681,010 plus HST. Authorize WSP Canada Inc. to undertake engineering services relating to said project at the cost of $255,000 plus HST, and further authorize that these expenditures be defrayed from account number 3-3-35-58-7669 General Capital Budget Improvements Champlain Acadie, and account number 4-3-90-58-7669 Water and Sewer Capital Budget Improvements Champlain Acadie. And I so move. Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Brideau, seconded by Councillor Lantaigne on the question. All those in favor will signify, contrary nay. It's carried as presented. Which brings us to 11.2.1. 11.2.1, yes, tender award for a sports shop. Yes, I think that Councillor Leboutier wanted to leave for this, but while she's doing that, I want to add that at the Acadie-Champlain intersection, there's going to be a left-hand turn from Champlain to l'Acadie. That'll improve intersection in the fact that there's going to be a left-hand turn in both directions. So that's part of the improvements that have been asked for. So now that Councillor has left the room, we sent out a notice. Sent out an invitation to bid to set up a sports shop. We received 2 bids. So after the assessment by an internal committee with very established criteria, we recommend that the tender go to Mud City Hockey for a period of 3 years ending August 31st, 2028, with a renewal option of a second period of 3 years, according to terms and conditions stipulated in the request for proposals that were also asked for by the tenant. So this was part of the recommendation that were part of the analysis, and it's for your consideration this evening to ensure that we have a sports shop at the Uniplex. We also took this opportunity to give them a place at Agile Leblanc center, but no bids, no proposals were received for that facility. So we're going to be exploring other avenues for that facility. So this is the recommendation of the working group and for your consideration this evening. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Jeannin. That Council award the tender for the operation of the sports shop at Uniplex to Mud City Hockey Inc. for a period of approximately 3 years, ending August 31st, 2028, with a renewal option of a second period of 3 years, according to the terms and conditions stipulated in the request for proposals. Yes, it's been proposed by Councillor Jeannin, seconded by Councillor Lantaigne on the question. We're having a problem with the mics this evening. Go ahead. I just have a couple of questions of clarification. Now, in terms of the use of the Uni Center, what percentage is used by hockey, ringette, figure skating, and so on? What's the percentage of use? Oh, Mr. Richard, does he have that information this evening? Mr. Richard.
J'ai pas l'information spécifique, mais juste en
I
termes
don't
de
have the
membership.
specific information, but in terms of membership, I think it's about 900 for hockey, ringette 250 or 300 people registered, and speed skating. There's speed skating as well, but the figure skating are about 300, I would think, but I might be wrong. But I'm just talking about these ice time, really. What is the percentage, or what is the intention of the shop? Is it do they focus on hockey mostly, or is that intentional, or is it because of the ice time and the use of the facility? Or in your evaluation, did you look at experience expertise, hockey ringette and others, or what the type of supplies that are going to be sold? The RFP did have certain requirements, so they do have to offer articles for all of the main sports, so including ringette, hockey, and sharpening, skate sharpening, but that applies to everybody except for the figure skating. They have a special sharpening tools. But now, was it the other bidder? Was it because they didn't have the same experience in another in a field, in an associated field, or was it a less experience in retail, generally speaking? Yeah, I think so. I think it was retail. You were looking at the percent. I was looking at the percentage here. There are some elements of discretion, but not very many. You look at the final points, the final scoring, and they had the same score. If you remove the margin of error because of discretion, sometimes in that kind of situation, we give the advantage to the person who was already on site. Were there any discussions within the group internally on consideration of, everything else being equal? We're going to stay with the one who's already there, or, well, two things. The three-person committee was unanimous when they looked at the bids. And when you look at the criteria, there's a title, there's a detail, there's a description, but there's very little room for discretion because they had to include the details in their, according to the RFP. So there was no really room for individual points extra given. Well, I find it interesting when we change a supplier. It's always delicate, and that's why I was asking the questions. I don't know if you're looking for the difference, but one of the big differences was in the C criteria, which was the monetary. So that's the financial details, and that's where there was a big difference between the two in the financial consideration. So we had criteria. They were given a score, and that's what it gives according to these criteria. Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Turgeon-Roy. No, it's not. The light's not on, but it's working. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It came back. Thank you.
Ma question, j'ai peut-être manqué
I
quelque
have a
chose.
question. Why is it said that? Why do we say that it's a period of approximately 3 years? Why isn't it exactly 3 years or 5 years? And I just find it a little bizarre here. Well, it's just because it's because the date. We're on September 8th now, but that would be a difficult date to renew it. So it would be up till August 31st, and the renewal would be until August 31st. If there are no further questions, let's vote. All those in favor will signify. Contrary, nay. It's carried as presented. So we can ask Councillor Leboutier to come back. It's been noted that Councillor Leboutier has returned to the meeting, which brings us to 11.3, Planning and Development. 11.3.1, PAC recommendation on the Municipal Development Plan Z-9. We had a public hearing. It was presented. You have the recommendation of the PAC. There are two streets here that need to be modified. So staff had made the recommendation, had presented it to the PAC, to the Planning Advisory Committee, and you have the recommendation of the PAC here this evening to continue. And then in the bylaws that we read later, you'll see that this is one of them. So that's as simple as that. It was presented. I think you were comfortable with it, and it's just to be read into the record this evening. Questions? No questions? Who would like to read the resolution?
Madame Leboutier.
Councillor Leboutier. Thank you, Your Worship. That Council accept the recommendation made by the Planning Advisory Committee on August 20th, 2025 regarding an application to amend the Municipal Development Plan Z-9, 2017 and zoning bylaw Z-10, 2021 in order to adjust the zoning lines according to the boundaries of the properties identified under PIDs 707-14316, 707-14324, 707-18044, and 701-50230. That Council proceed with first and second readings of bylaws Z-9, 2017 and Z-10, 2021. And I so move it. Thank you. It's been moved and seconded on the question. All those in favor of the resolution,
those in favor
will signify by saying aye.
Opposed, nay.
Contrary, nay.
The motion carries as presented.
It's carried. Which brings
us to the next item.
The next
Municipal bylaws.
So we're at item number 12.1.
Bylaw C1, Mr. Melanson. So here you have two documents to read. So the summary reading and the reading by title only. This has to do with traffic and parking. And this is related to parking in the winter. So this is the same approach that Moncton and Riverview have taken. People will be notified when they have to remove their cars so that they're not buried by snow. And so this is for your final approval. All right, so who would like to read that? Councillor Turgeon-Roy, please. Thank you, Your Worship. I'm going to take my glasses off. So bylaw C1 2025, a bylaw relating to traffic and parking in the city of Dieppe. So pursuant to the authority vested in it by the Local Governance Act, RSNB 2017, Chapter 18, and the Motor Vehicle Act, RSNB 1973, Chapter M-17, the Council of the Municipality of Dieppe, duly assembled, enacts as follows. The sections and schedule of bylaw C1 2025 to remain unchanged from those set out in bylaw C1 2024-2, adopted on December 9th, 2024, except for the following amendments. Addition of a definition to section 1 as follows. Chief Administrative Officer means the Chief Administrative Officer of the City of Dieppe and or his or her delegate or replacement for the purposes of exercising the powers set out in subsection 5.3. Amendment to subsection 5.2 as follows. It is prohibited to park on the street or in a parking lot owned by the city any heavy equipment or vehicle or type of vehicle depicted in Schedule B, but not limited to the examples depicted other than a recreational vehicle for which a parking permit has been issued pursuant to Section 9, which may be parked on the street or in accordance with the permit and with subsection 9.6. Addition of subsection 5.3 as follows, notwithstanding paragraph 5.1J, if the CAO considers that parking restrictions between midnight and 7 a.m. are not necessary due to weather conditions, road conditions, or if no snow or ice removal operations are to be conducted requiring such restrictions, the CAO is authorized to suspend the parking prohibition between midnight and 7 a.m. and therefore permit the parking of motor vehicles at such places and for such time as he deems advisable. Amendments to Schedule A entitled Prohibited Parking. Addition of Section 13 as follows. 13 Bernard Street. A, at any time, both sides from Auxiar Street to Lionel Street. Addition of Section 47, or 49 rather, as follows. 49 Leblanc Road, at any time, both sides from Fox Creek Road, easterly for a distance of 1,950 meters. I so move in summary reading. Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Jeannet. All right, those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The resolution is adopted as presented, and now we're at 12.2.1, first reading by title only. Oh, we have to do 12.1.2, the third reading as well. Third reading, okay. All right, third reading by title only. All right, so a bylaw relating to traffic and parking in the city of Dieppe. I so move by third reading by title only. Thank you, seconded by Councillor Jeannet. Those in favor signify by saying aye, opposed nay. The resolution carries as presented. Moving on now to 12.2.1. 12.2.1, yes. First reading, title only. Does anybody feel they want to undertake that? Mr. Brideau, perhaps? Thank you, Your Worship. Bylaw Z. Oh, bylaw C1. Sorry, Councillor, we're at 12.2 now. Bylaw Z9. Oh, my apologies. All right, let me start again. So bylaw Z-9, 2017-12. A bylaw to amend a bylaw relating to the City of Dieppe Municipal Development Plan bylaw. By title only. I so move. By title only. All right, seconded by Councillor Jeannet once again. Thank you. All right, those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The resolution is adopted as presented. And that brings us to 12.2.2. Final reading, second reading, sorry. You still want to do that, Councillor Brideau? All right, by second reading. Second reading, a bylaw Z-9, 2017-12, a bylaw to amend a bylaw relating to the City of Dieppe Municipal Development Plan bylaw. I so move in second reading. Moved by Councillor Brideau, seconded by, as usual, Councillor Jeannet. Those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The motion is, or the resolution is adopted by as presented. Moving on to 12.3 now. Councillor, who would like to read? the bylaw.
Lanting, s'il vous plaît.
Councillor Lanting, please.
Voilà.
Merci, Monsieur le Maire.
All right, thank you, Your Worship. Bylaw Z-10, 2021-14, amending the zoning bylaw. I so move by title only.
Qui est appuyé par
All right, seconded by
Godbout.
Councillor Godbout.
Merci. Alors, ceux qui sont en faveur de la
All right,
résolution,
those in favor signify by saying aye.
ceux du contraire,
Opposed, nay.
la résolution est adoptée telle que
The
présentée.
resolution is adopted as as presented. Again, same bylaw, this time in second reading. So bylaw Z-10, 2021-14 bylaw to amend the City of Dieppe zoning bylaw. I so move in second reading by title only.
Qui est appuyé par la conseillère
Seconded by Councillor
Godbout.
Godbout.
Ceux qui sont en faveur de la résolution,
All right, those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay.
la résolution est adoptée telle que
The
présentée.
resolution is passes as presented.
À l'avis de motion.
And that brings us to notice of motions. All right, you have a notice of motion with regard to bylaw A4, with regard to the public meeting, and this will be brought to the next meeting, and there will be a summary of a memorandum that of the approach being adopted. So it's just about, we just want to read it tonight. All right, who would like that? Councillor Godbout, please. Notice of motion, bylaw A4, 2025. I give notice that bylaw A4 entitled Procedural Bylaw A4, 2024 will be introduced at a future meeting of council for first and second reading.
Merci. C'est appuyé par. Pas besoin. C'est vrai, pas besoin d'appui pour celui-là. C'est beau?
All right.
Alors, c'est tout.
Is that it? All right. Oh, are there any questions? All right, before we leave, how's your summer? We'll start to my right with Councillor Lanting. Thank you, Your Worship. Two small things for me. I just wanted to do a bit of follow-up with regard to the amendments to the trails and scooters bylaw. There was a committee, a tri-committee, community committee that was struck, a tri-community committee that was struck with regard to scooters. So I just wanted an update on that. Yes, we're going to align our approach with those of our neighboring communities. So I don't know if we can align with them, but we don't have anything to present right now. But we should have something for you. We're hoping to have a bylaw for the spring, but I was told that scooters operate in the winter as well, so we might bring something to you earlier. Well, this is a concern of citizens. So can you confirm that there will be a revision done of traffic on the trails, these e-bikes, for example, in terms of speed, better control, so doing promotion around safety issues. You know, I heard about other bikes as well and scooters, other vehicles like scooters, almost small motorcycles that are out on the trails. So I've mentioned this a number of times as well. People are concerned about that. You know, it's a safety issue. So will that be taken into consideration in the review? Well, we can try to come up with a description that captures most of those vehicles. Yes, that's what we'll be trying. But some of those vehicles, some of those motorized vehicles that are run by gas are run by provincial legislation on roads, right? But if you see scooters, But if there are gas run vehicles are already prohibited on trails. Well, I know that if we put speed limits, not a lot of people follow those limits. But maybe we could do some promotional work through Facebook and other means. But we could also go and have people patrolling as well. Yeah, we could work something out with communications. Now, in terms of enforcement, it's hard to catch somebody speeding when we're not there ourselves with vehicles, but there's educational work that can be done. But in my experience, since I came to the city, is that people do want to follow rules, but often they're not aware of the rules. So that's been my experience. All right, thank you. All right, I just wanted to wish everybody a good return to school, to our teachers, students. I know that's not necessarily an easy place to work, so we wish them a good return to school and a happy 2025, 2026, and we hope that things will go for the best. All right, thank you. Councillor Godbout, please. Just a couple comments. Congratulations first about things that I heard. I just wanted to point out the importance of the efforts that were made to complete construction work at night on our roads. So thank you very much for listening to us. And I traveled all summer. If we can not burden our residents with construction work during the day, that's a great thing. So I think that adds a lot of value. And I would like to congratulate as well the staff who worked at festivals and other summer events. It was fun to see all those activities take place, and sports as well, all the sports that took place during the summer. It's important to keep our youth engaged. And we talk about community spirit and urban development. Well, that starts with youth and gatherings and people wanting to be together. So thank you very much for your efforts. I saw a lot of great things that were done this summer. In terms of work, most of my summer was spent working with the CRPA. No, this is a major cost that we have. Policing is a major cost. But those are the things that I wanted to talk about. Thank you.
Councillor Turgeon-Roy. Great, it works. Thank you, Your Worship. I have some follow-up questions and some questions that I receive frequently. And I'll take this opportunity because I do have a concerned citizen here in the room who's talked to me about this regularly. You know the intersection between Pascal Street and Chartersville? It's like a four-way corner that's becoming more and more busy during traffic hours, during school days and so on. And we've started building that new little village on Keith Street and Dieppe Boulevard, that little village and the apartment. So it's going to bring even more people up there. So I'd like to know if there are any plans to improve that intersection. I have another question afterwards.
Allez-y.
Je suis allumée, je peux le tenter de répondre.
I can try and answer. Yeah. Go ahead. Thank you for the question. Well, that intersection has been studied. There was a preliminary study done last year because we're going to look at we're considering a roundabout there, but it depends on the budget.
C'est certain qu'ensuite,
Now, there's a list of projects to undertake over the next few years, so it'll be a discussion between the administration and council and the finances. But we're on it, and yes, it's something that comes up frequently from citizens in that area. Another request that I'd already made, and we'd also received complaints from citizens, was about Amiro Street at the end, on the left-hand turn to Vanier Street. There's 2 lanes, and so traffic, I mean, the speed limit is 50, but people go really quickly there, and there have been a very high number of near misses there at that intersection. I know we had talked about an improvement there, but I haven't seen anything. Perhaps we could just repaint the lines. I don't know, but is there anything coming up? Well, in terms of improvement there will be new signage, but that would be going south. From what I've heard is that the left-hand turn to Vanier, which is the problem. You know, people go into that lane just to pass the others that are driving straight through. So we're going to change the signage, and so according to the standards of the TAC, the Transportation Association, I think that'll be coming up soon. Now the equipment has been ordered, so it should be installed soon. Now, at the same time as we had approved those projects, we had asked the contractor to put blinking lights at Pascal and Chartersville intersection. So even if we're considering putting a roundabout in the next few years, perhaps meanwhile we have to have something to improve the traffic there. Yes, thank you. Perfect. If you hear anything new, let me know. Thank you, Councillor Brideau. Thank you, Your Worship. Well, I'm going to come back to last August 15th. In Dieppe this year, we had a record number of participants. We really celebrated Acadian pride here in our city. And I would like to raise my hat and congratulate everybody who participated and our staff who participated in the organization and the preparation of the washrooms, the fences, the kiosks, the booths, the food, and so on. It was really, the pride could be felt here in Dieppe, and that's what I wanted to mention this evening. And for the second performance, YQM, I've received a number of complaints, a lot of frustration from people on Gould Street, especially. We didn't settle all of the problems, of course, but I can assure you that it's going to come back when we start negotiating with the promoter. Once again, there are things that the city has to discuss yet internally to see how we're going to address this next year. There were some issues with security on Gould Street. People saw all sorts of things. But for the people who did raise these complaints, we're not going to just let you in the dark. We're going to work to see how we can improve the situation. And thank you, everyone, and have a good evening. Thank you. Councillor Jeannin, thank you, Your Worship. I just have one thing to mention this evening, and it's on the board of the Capitol Theatre that I sit on. I don't know if that you heard that Kim Rayworth announced that she will be leaving us at the end of the 2025-26 season. Kim has contributed here for over 10 years, because even before that, she was involved in the board, and she contributed immensely to the organization. So the board wants to make sure that the transition will be successful, and we're going to make sure everything is seamless and easy. We're going to start a search for a replacement for Kim by the end of the season, and we wish her great retirement. Thank you, Councillor de Boutillier. Thank you, Your Worship. Nothing this evening. Thank you. Thank you. And for me, I just want to remind everyone that the school has started up again. Our youth are in the streets, on the sidewalks. And I would just ask everybody to pay special attention to the traffic in the community. This is an issue that comes up. Traffic comes up at almost each council meeting. We know that a municipality that is growing and growing so quickly is a challenge for everybody. So we're counting on you. So good evening to all of you and see you at the next meeting.